The desire to be wanted by another. That's the topic of this week's Soul Sovereignty and Sexuality podcast with myself, Jessica Falcon, International Soul Embodiment Guide and Divine Feminine Activator. And I certainly don't profess to cover all of the nuances of this in a short episode, because the desire to be wanted by another is quite complex, multi-layered, and it's something that I have explored both within myself and within clients around the world, researched, written about for many, many years. And it's so complex because we have been acculturated for millennia to believe that our value comes from outside of us, that we do not have inherent value, inherent worth. And when that is so deeply embedded in not only the individual psyche, but the collective psyche, it creates an automatic response to seek that value outside of ourselves. Particularly for women, though this is also true for men, but it shows up in different ways. Particularly for women, women were told when they were turned into possessions and property for the benefit of men thousands of years ago, women were told you have no inherent value because you have no soul unless a man deems you valuable. And so we have created this internal, I have to be valued by another or else I am nothing and I do not matter. Men, even though they were recognized as having a soul and more inherent value than a woman, were still told that their value was based on what they did, how much money they had, their possessions, their status. And so when we are seeking these external things and with which to know ourselves as worthy, we're going to do the same in relationship with others. I'm going to backpedal for a minute and say the desire for connection is natural and beautiful. And we are meant to connect with others. What happens, however, is that when we are seeking to be wanted by another, and we're operating according to that program, consciously or unconsciously, we are disconnecting from the self in order to be connected to another, to be valued by another, to be wanted by another, which means that it's not actually an authentic connection because you are not authentically you. So how does that show up? Generally speaking, this can show up in very unique ways for each person. Generally speaking, when you are consciously or unconsciously wanting to be wanted by another, it can show up as hiding the parts of yourself that the other doesn't like. Oh, I want you to want me. But if I say this thing that you don't like, you might not want me. So I'm going to shut it down and keep it quiet. I want you to want me. So that intelligence that threatens you, I'm going to pretend it's really not as good as you think. I want you to want me. So I'm not going to do that thing that you don't like because you might get upset or angry and not want me anymore. I know I experienced this in my relationship when I was in Europe, I was in the habit of constantly denying parts of myself that my partner didn't like. He was threatened by my sexuality. He was threatened by my power. He was threatened by my intelligence. And he made it very clear that he was threatened by that and made me wrong, because the truth is it threatened his own sense of worthiness. And instead of owning, well, this is who I am, and it doesn't make you any less worthy, my acculturated response, and also based on many past lives and beliefs, was to make him want me by denying who I am and hiding my strengths and apologizing for my gifts, because I desperately needed him to want me to know myself as wanted, to know myself as desirable, to know myself as lovable. I was so afraid of him withdrawing his desire, which meant withdrawing his approval, which meant withdrawing his love, which meant withdrawing himself, rejecting me or abandoning me. I was so afraid of that because an internal part of me needed that and was willing to deny myself to get that from him. So just tune into any ways that maybe you have witnessed yourself do this. Hiding, covering up, minimizing, diminishing aspects of yourself or your truth that you knew another person might not like or agree with or love you for. And what that ultimately stems from, what I ultimately came to discover within myself, is that I was still seeking love externally and not sourcing love from within. Sourcing love from the infinite divine love that I am, that is my essence, that is my truth. And I believed that I could only have love, be loved, be lovable if it came from outside of me. I was also operating under the belief, the wound. These are all wounds that created beliefs from past life soul trauma and conditioning, that I was not valuable if he didn't deem me so, which was giving him authority over me and letting him decide my value. This just came up in a client session today. It's so common that we allow other people to determine our value. Oh, you don't want me, I must not be good enough. Oh, you don't like me, there must be something wrong with me. Oh, you didn't call me back, so, oh, you broke up with me, so I must not be valuable to you. I must not matter to you. Oh, you don't want to date me. You don't want to be with me. You didn't show up in the way that I think you would if you truly valued me, right? And so we are in this constant play of looking at the outside and letting that be what determines our inner value, instead of sourcing value from within. Because you connect to your inherent value and you connect to the value of your unique soul, and you own that value no matter what. You can still hurt or feel pain when another doesn't recognize that. And quite frankly, I myself have been through initiations in which my soul guided me through situations in which another did not value me, so that I had the opportunity to value myself even when the other person could not. Because here's the thing. If you are allowing another person's capacity or incapacity to love you to determine who you are, or your worth, or lovability, or your value, you're giving them power over you. Is this common? Yes. Is it what we're told to do? Yes. Is it what we're conditioned to do? Yes. Is it accepted in society? Yes. Is it sovereignty? No. Is it your divine truth? No. Is it you being in your power? No. So, the invitation is to do the inner work, to release the ways you have given that power away. Imagine it, you can even visualize it as when we are seeking that love and approval and desire from another person, there are energetic cords going from your solar plexus out to them. And you're wanting to pull that in to source you, instead of sourcing yourself from within your own divinity, your own being, the infinite love inside of you, available to you from your soul. And a soul cannot come fully into wholeness and power and sovereignty until it does that inner work, which is why I'm so passionate about guiding my clients, those who are ready for this level of transformation and reclamation, into portals of transformation with me, to do exactly that, because it is the only way to experience true freedom, not only within yourself, but in your relationships. And it doesn't mean that you don't want people to want you or choose you, because in order to be in a relationship, two people have to choose to be in relationship with each other. And if you really like somebody and you value them, are attracted to them, then of course it's natural to want them to feel that way about you too, right? So there's no shame in this. There's no wrongness in this. It's how do we respond to that? And instead of entering into a relationship or being in a relationship in which your focus is, I want you to want me, turn it around. Do I choose you? Because what happens unconsciously is, if you're so focused on wanting the other person to want you, because you have this need, consciously or unconsciously, to be wanted, to be valued, to be loved, to be accepted, to be approved of, then you are not generally asking yourself the question of whether or not you want them and you choose them. And if it's actually a healthy relationship that you truly desire to be in, because your focus is on being wanted, not forming a healthy relationship dynamic. In which you truly desire the other person and trust that if you are meant to be in a relationship with that person, soul to soul, in union, there's nothing that you have to hide about yourself or change about yourself to be loved by them, to be wanted or to be chosen. be valued, because there's going to be a resonance between you and that other soul. Every sovereign, healthy relationship, which is rare on this planet, because we're so conditioned to be anything but sovereign in relationship, is I know my value and I source love from within and I source my worth from within. And I'm choosing to enter into this union, this relationship with you, not out of need, but out of desire. Not because I need you to want me. Not because I need to be with another person in relationship. But because I desire true connection, and I know that connection can only happen when I am deeply connected to myself and my truth and my authentic being, my true self. Which is why so much of the real work that I do with clients and myself, I don't speak to anything that I don't embody and work with and look at within. Is, am I operating from my true, authentic soul self? Or am I operating based on this cultural conditioning or the inherited beliefs or the soul traumas that have actually denied my divinity? Because most relationship dynamics in this society are rooted in the denial of our divinity and the denial of our worth and denial of our sovereignty. And so in order to create relationships rooted in freedom and sovereignty, we have to do the work to reclaim it individually first. And yes, you can do this with a couple if both of you are willing to do this consciously together and have those conversations. We all have to begin looking at these ways that we are sourcing externally from a partner, because quite frankly, love is not free. If you are let me rephrase. You cannot experience freedom in love if you are denying and hiding and suppressing you and your truth in order to, quote, be loved or be wanted or be valued. It just cannot exist, because it's going to create the minimization and denial and the suppression that is anything but freedom, both for yourself and your partner. Because if you're doing that to them, I'll only love you if, I only value you if you are this for me and meet my needs, you are not allowing them to be free either. And that's why that individual reclamation of your power and sovereignty is not only freedom for you, but creates the freedom for both self and other, because there are no more needs and demands. There are boundaries. But a boundary is different than a demand. And there are desires, but a desire is different than a need. Yes? So I will stop there to give you something to chew on within yourself, as to even asking yourself the question of, why do I desire to be in relationship? And are these desires coming from overflow, true desire, and excitement and joy and an authentic connection of all of me showing up? Or are they coming from need? Are they coming from a sense of internal lack? Are they coming from a dependent place in which you're grasping or needing or seeking that energy to come into you, versus sovereignty, which is sourcing that love, sourcing that belonging, sourcing that worth, sourcing that value from within you? And if you desire support with this, feel free to reach out or schedule a free sovereignty breakthrough session, because this is big work. It's deep work. It's a path I've been on consciously for well over 10 years. And I wish I could say it was an easy journey to completely unravel yourself from all of the really messed up beliefs and soul traumas that we've experienced. But it is easy in the sense that the freedom that you taste is so worth it. And it's quite frankly a path that every soul at some point is going to have to go on to ascend into consciousness and return to source. And we return to source and we ascend by union with the true self, union with our own divinity here in form. And that is where our planet is going. That is what is happening. That is what is being asked of us right here, right now. And I look forward to delving into this topic and others further with you in further episodes. Feel free to leave a note. Feel free to leave a question, any comments. They really matter. And I appreciate hearing from you. And I will see you soon.